Hey, what's going on, everybody? Transmission fluid change time on the Cummins. And of course, since I'm down here at work getting it done, figure I would take this time to take a look around, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure when it comes to preventative maintenance, especially on these older trucks. So driving around the other day, hearing all this rattling and clattering, and I isolated it to the left front. I'm down here, and lo and behold, look at that. Ain't that a bitch? Sorry, compressor purge. Busted shock. Well, so I gotta do that. So, no wonder this thing's bouncing all over the place. Like some freaking meth head. Oh, shit. Alright, so changes in the transmission fluid on these. Let me step down so you actually can get a better view. Okay, it's actually really straightforward, and it's actually one of the reasons why these transmissions have met an early demise. This is still the original transmission, or at least the one that's original to this truck. It is the Getrag, or the Getrag GT 360 transmission, 5-speed. It's not been converted to the NV 4500 like a lot of people do with these first gens. Believe it or not, it's actually a fairly robust transmission, and they're not hard to get parts for. I mean, eBay, I can get a reman for this for not all that much, but you're supposed to change your transmission fluid in this about every other oil change. That's what I do personally, and different forums tell you different things, but apparently you're not supposed to use gear oil. Now, this is what I was using in it, gear oil. But he's like, "Oh, don't use gear oil in it. You won't lubricate it properly." Okay, so fine. I'm switching over to 5W30 synthetic. But because, call me suspicious, I think that's still a little on the thin side, I'm pumping in a quart of Lucas. So I'm going to end up putting in, and of course I'm going to overfill it. And the way to overdo it actually is fairly simple. Now, this factory, sorry, I got my exhaust in the way. This factory fill location is actually fairly low on the transmission. So another inherent problem is they don't get enough lubrication to the top of the transmission. So you got to overfill it. And the way that I'm going to do that is when we reuse this container, I'm going to put the oil in there and then pump it in. I'm just basically going to tie a shop rag around it, like that, and stick it in the hole and pump it an extra quart full. So I'm going to end up putting 5 quarts in this thing, and then you pull the hose out real quick, and you thread in the pipe plug, before she piddles too much, clean it up, call it a day. Looking around underneath, Iowa's not been kind to this truck, but it's far better than some of the other ones I see. Now, granted, this truck's 30 years old. I mean, older than some of the techs I work with. Actually, most of the techs I work with here. Output shaft seal is troubling. And that's probably why my speedometer is bouncing all over the place. That sensor has seen better days. But all in all, I mean, it's not bad. For being a 30-year-plus old Iowa truck, here's what I'm going to do. I got a friggin' hole. Basically, this is gone, but that feels like fiberglass. That's probably the inside of the floor pan. What I'm going to do, this summer, I'm going to Dremel tool all that rotten stuff out of there, because that's actually about where the pedals would be. And then I'm going to actually rivet in just a piece of sheet steel and call it a day. Same here. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. To do this right would require a cab off. I would have to pull the body completely off the truck, undo those body mounts, pull the whole thing off, and basically shit can everything from the frame up. Repaint the frame and do it right. I mean, if you're going to do it right. And then, these first gens are pretty rare, and there's probably somebody out there that would do this to this truck. 300,000 mile first gen truck, because it's got the granddaddy of all diesel engines, the Cummins mechanical 12 valve, non-intercooled, that's the only drawback, and a manual. The rest of the truck is literally falling apart around this transmission and engines combination. So anyways, back to it. So I'm gonna pump this Lucas in, which is taking forever because this is the non-synthetic. And I had this inside all day. Mind you, I did not have this sitting outside, and I'm not left-handed, by the way. But so I'm going to finish pumping this shit in here, then I'll be back in a minute with you guys. Okay, well, that wasn't so bad. Okay, heads up. Here's what we did. I went and obviously, bought myself the oil, but I figured it was easier rather than pump it in manually. Go ahead and pump it in right out of the gun. So, I gotta clean this up a bit. This end fits in perfectly right up there at the fill hole. So, shove that in nice and tight. And I know that I already pumped in 1 quart here. Well, 1.5, because I filled it a little bit with regular oil. And then I pumped in 3 quarts here. Transmission's supposed to hold 4, so there's probably, and of course I spilled a little bit, so there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood about 4.75 to 5 quarts in here, counting the quart of Lucas. So she's all set. Now I got to clean this up, and I'll meet you guys back up top, and we'll go over updates up there. Stand by. All right, guys, back with you. All right. So, I got to replace that shock. That's going to be lovely. And that's one of those few things, like, okay, suspension and brakes are probably the 2 things that I will pay to have somebody else do. Because first, I've never done it, and I just don't have the patience for it. So, I'm probably just going to have somebody else do that. Everything else is pretty much the same since last time we were here. A couple things I am going to do, though. Pardon me, I got to wipe some oil off my arm because got a big old oil smudge on my Cummins. I'm going to be installing a boost gauge. Because if I do end up putting that bigger 8.3 compressor on, I want to make sure how much boost I'm actually getting. So boost and pyro is coming. Boost is actually pretty straightforward on these. There's no extra drilling required, per se. And I know it's pretty tough to see. Let me see if I can get the camera in there. Oh, jeez. Get something to point with. Okay, there is essentially one of these fittings right here, further back on the cylinder head. Because if you didn't already know, on these trucks, there really is no intake manifold. It's all cast into the head, or the valve, the head, because this right here, this whole thing is your head, and air comes in, goes down through. This is a grid heater, and then it goes down. This is the cover. Underneath here is just an open space, but this whole part here is one piece. So there's already a hole drilled right here for your for the fuel air control that goes into the back of your injection pump right here, which is in a previous video when I put in a bigger fuel pin from Denny T Performance, which is still working awesome. So a big shout out to them. But there is another one located right, let me see if I can see it. Right there she is, right there. And I'm sorry you can't quite see it. Okay, maybe with the screwdriver. Right there. I'm tapping on it. Problem is, to get to it, this guy's in the way. Which is the plate that holds your throttle linkage assembly. Now, I'm going to do the short way on this. I'm going to map it out where I'm going to drill, and then I got to drill through. Now be careful if you do this, because you see these little guys right here? Those are your fuel injection lines. These run out to your fuel injectors. If you go hitting on this with a drill, because I'm going to do it with this still on the truck. I'm not going to take it off and drill through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it, and I'm going to drill through nice and easy, and then file it out with a Dremel tool. But if you just go barreling through this thing with the drill, and you go through and then you punch a hole in one of these, you are in for a bad day. Because now Now a simple boost gauge install has turned into a fuel system debacle as well, because you got to pull it off the back of the injector pump, which means this whole thing's got to come off now. Then you got to take it off the injector. Then you got to put the new line on, and they're not cheap. Then you got to bleed the fuel system, and it's just a pain in the ass. So take your time. So it's approximately right here. Okay, I'm gonna eyeball it, and what I'm going to do is then I'm going to take a small drill bit, and I'm going to go through so I can see, because I need to drill a hole about half an inch in diameter, probably about not quite half this size, right about here, because the line that runs through for the pressure fitting, which looks kind of like that, needs to be able to fit through here plus the line. And then the air line I will just probably have run through and go through the firewall where this boot here, either right here or right here, for the vacuum line for the boost. Now, there's already holes through your firewall, so don't just go hog wild. But I'm gonna end up doing that here, so I will have a video on that. And that's about it. Anyways, sorry that some of these videos kind of ramble, but like I said, just regular guy, regular truck, doing regular things. So no sponsors. Any of the companies or products that I mention in my videos, I want to state that at the moment I am not sponsored. I have I use Lucas in this. Lucas is not sponsoring me. Denny T Performance, which is the fuel pin I have in there, again, that is not sponsored. So these are, I'm just throwing that out there as a disclaimer, just in case I'm missing some law that says I have to, which is also why I don't lead into my videos with any song, because I don't want a lawsuit. So anyways, any questions, feel free to throw them in there and I will get to them. I answer all questions that are typed into any of my videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you have any questions. Throw them down there and I will get to them, and have a nice day.